Welcome back, everyone. Today I'm going to talk to you all about a dual battery setup on 2015 Tahoe. For those of you that own one of these, y'all may have noticed that the vehicle came with a second battery tray, just not with the battery itself or the wiring to connect one. If you're deciding on getting a second battery and doing a dual setup, I'll show y'all kind of what I did to make it easy for y'all on doing the setup itself. The kit that I got off Amazon. It's fairly cheap. Didn't really come with some reliable hardware except for the isolator and the fuses. The terminals, ring terminals, and splices weren't very good quality, so I went ahead and went to AutoZone, picked up some things. I'll go ahead and show y'all how it's set up and how y'all can do it. Maybe make it go by a little faster if y'all decide. So as y'all can see, here's the second battery right here. The kit did come with the battery isolator, which is there, some 4-gauge wiring, 2 inline fuses, one there and one over there towards the AC lines. That's all it came with that I felt was worth it. It did not come with the 4-gauge negative wire. This I got from AutoZone. It's the 6-foot one. This one came with the actual post mount clamp itself, which the kit did not come with any post mounts, so I had to not only get the negative wire for that side, but this swan terminal with the quick disconnect for the positive lead. I also got a better terminal to connect it to the stud on the battery control on the battery box itself that sits on top of the battery. So how it's set up is you run from the positive terminal over there to your 100 amp inline fuse. From there, you go over here to the isolator to the main post on here. Then you'll go out from the secondary post to your inline fuse here, 100 amp, and then from here to your positive. For your negative, you're going to run a 4-gauge wire from your negative post over to your negative post on your main battery. The reason why I went with this wire is with this negative post, the wire came with a 14-gauge wire already spliced into the post. It's actually crimped into the post itself. You're going to want that because for the isolator, I did also use the positive and negative 16-gauge wire that came with the isolator and the kit. So you're going to want to run a positive wire from your fuse block. I got a add a connection fuse, which is right here. I use this particular fuse post because it was already empty and it's hot, and the hot is only on run and start. It's not hot. It's not energized when the key is off. So you run from there. I used a 15 amp fuse from that terminal out to the positive right here. Then you're also from here, from your secondary auxiliary battery, you're gonna use your splice right here. You're gonna go to your negative on your isolator. You're also going to want to attach that negative to another ground wire and go to a chassis ground, which I used right up in here. Can't really see it, but yeah, I used this chassis ground. So you want to use that ground to your isolator negative and your isolator negative to your auxiliary battery unit. It needs to be a smaller wire than your main negative wire, your main ground wire, due to the Hall effect sensor on your main battery. That sensor is what tells your alternator to increase or decrease voltage. And without your ground wire being a smaller wire, your auxiliary battery won't charge correctly because it's not going to be able to detect the voltage correctly. So that's how you want to run that system. For me, it works very well. I've already noticed a major difference in the electrical charge on the tuner. I was having trouble with all my electrical accessories pulling so much of a current load on the alternator that at night when I was driving with all my radios and electronics on, had high beams on that I would sometimes lose my instrument clutcher. It was almost like the truck would shut off on me at some times, like especially if I tried to accelerate, all the lights would dim or completely go out completely. Cruise control would shut off on me when I would use my turn signal. So, but yeah, this was an empty fuse slot. So I got this quick connect fuse to apply power to the isolator when the vehicle is in the on or start key selector. The whole point of that isolator is to connect your two batteries together when the vehicle is running in the on position or starting, so that way when you start the vehicle, your starter can pull from both batteries, but to isolate your auxiliary battery from your main battery when the vehicle is in the off position. Then I have this inline fuse right here. It's a 30 amp inline fuse, just using a ring terminal underneath this disconnect knob, and then from this wire into the cab to run all my accessories. So anyone thinking about doing this, pretty simple. If you want a parts list, hit me up. I could probably pull the parts list I use from AutoZone and post it. Like I said, pretty simple. It took me about 6 hours to do, so maybe giving this a heads up, it'll allow some of y'all to do it faster. The only thing you'll have to purchase is some better ring terminals, the 4-gauge battery cable, and of course your battery hold down, which doesn't come with the bolts, so you'll have to purchase the bolts separately. I think it was a 5/16 by M8, but I don't quite remember. I have to look it up. And then for me, I got lucky. The ring terminal that was on the end of the 4-gauge negative, I was able to just attach directly to the tightening clamp bolt right there for the negative. So it keeps it, it's got a flat surface underneath it, so it makes really good connection right there. It'll be like almost like 0.01 ohms, 0.02 ohms between the two batteries. Your battery box right here, some of y'all may notice if y'all ever had to change the battery in these, that you got to take all this off. Then you can pop this off, and you'll see you got 5 studs in there, metal plate, and then of course you have 7 fuses right there. You can use one of those fuses if you wanted to. I didn't choose to use any of them. I just chose to go with the 100 amp inline fuse that came with the kit. But you could, if you want to, you could tie in. I could have tied into this 125 amp fuse right there, and I could have used that. But instead, I chose just to go directly to the main plate right there, to the main bus, and that worked for me very well. I noticed now my voltage on my tuner, it doesn't dip below 13 volts. It might dip down to 12.8, but that's the lowest I've noticed it goes, and I don't have the flickering effect of all my lights when running. So any questions, drop them in the comments and I'll try to get back to you. Have a good day.